Hello everyone, we are Drew Code Sports Talk. I am your host Andrew Wright. Over here in this lovely face is Cody Johnson, my co-host.
Hello.
Alright. He said that so nonchalantly. Oh man, I should not have laughed that hard. Anyway, Cody, a few weeks back we talked about youth sports.
Yes.
And we talked about, I gave you an example of what happened to my brother-in-law and my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about how parents are taking over for a kid's sport.
Right.
And we discussed how we feel about it.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of falls under the category of that.
Does it fall? Yes, it does. It collapsed on it, actually.
So, Lavar Ball, as everyone's favorite human being, I will say this: if he agreed to be on our show, I would be a little bit nicer to him, but I would still say this was stupid. But anyway, that's beside the point. Lavar Ball pulls his AAU basketball team off the court after receiving a technical for using profanity towards the ref.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, I will say I watched the video. It was a pretty ticky-tacky call.
Yeah.
I get why he would get upset about it. I felt like the ref had maybe a very quick whistle.
Okay.
But we don't know what happened during the whole duration of the game.
Right.
So I can't really say it was too quick or it was too maybe it was too long. But it was a ticky-tacky call. It felt like the whistle was blown a little too quick. The tech was called.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like the reaction deserved after getting a tech and being called on a ticky-tacky call. But I'm going to ask you first, what are your thoughts on this?
So, there's two incidences where this happened. The first one, though, which I was actually flabbergasted this happened. And now, mind you, to paint the picture, his team was up by 9. I'm not sure what the remaining time was. But it was 69-60, and from what I saw, because we watched the same video, from what I saw, the refs called a ticky-tack foul on his team. It looks like they were going for the ball. I didn't see it as a foul, but hey, I'm not the ref either. And then as Lavar Ball was giving him a piece of his mind, he got teed up, and then he got upset, and then pulled his team off the court, took his ball, and went home. Now, my biggest issue with that is I understand if you don't like the call, especially the technical, because that's a big deal. It's free shots and then the ball out for the other team, which you don't want to give them any life, especially if you've got a lead and you want to hang on to it. My issue with this, though, and this is where adults are ruining youth sports, is he literally took his ball and went home. They were up by 9. Time is unknown at this point to me, but they were up.
I know they were in the final quarter.
Okay, so they're in the fourth quarter, whatever the time was left, but up by 9, and you have a call that you don't agree with. Okay, how many NBA games, college games, even high school games that you and I might have watched throughout our years, did we see where there was a call that was made we didn't agree with, and the team hung around, regardless of the outcome, they played their hardest to get past the adversity? That, in my opinion, is what Lavar Ball should be teaching that team, not the fact that if you don't agree with something, you just leave. Because I guarantee you this, if that happens in the NBA, it wouldn't happen. You never see Greg Popovich get up and take his entire team if there's a bad call, if there's a technical foul, because he usually gets a tech like every other game. You know what I mean? You're never going to see Luke Walton, you're never going to see Steve Kerr, you're never going to see any of these high-profile coaches in the NBA. Heck, let's go Rick Pitino, let's go Coach K, all these other college coaches will even go there. None of them have ever pulled their team off the court because they disagreed with a call. Yes, they disagreed with the call. Maybe it was a bad call. Maybe it wasn't. They got teed up for it, but they lived with it and they moved on. Sometimes it gets drastic enough where they get, ejected depending on how bad they argue the call. But plain and simple, they play through it. So what you're doing is you're teaching these 16-year-olds to throw a hissy fit if they don't get what they want, instead of playing through the adversity and coming out on top. Because in order to beat adversity, you have to keep playing and let the cards fall where they may. There's a phrase that if you're a basketball player that you hear all the time is, ball doesn't lie. So if you don't agree with the call and you play hard, then obviously what you leave on the court is not going to reflect what that call represented. And I think as it's easy for us as parents because we're a little judgmental, and we're not saying anything about his parenting. I'm just saying as a coach and the attitude and what he's projecting to the team, it needs to be totally different because you're setting them up for failure in the future. Because if these kids are going to go on to something further, regardless if it's basketball or something in life, you're teaching them that if they're upset about something, then just to walk away instead of dealing with it and then being better after it, then he needs to redirect this entire thing, because you can't teach kids that.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up, I'm not talking about him as a parent, because I've been hearing a lot of people, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but a lot of people have been saying, they're like, well, I hope that Lonzo Ball fails in the NBA, and I go, whoa, why? And they're like, well, his dad. And I'm like, wait, so we're judging Lonzo off of, I'm not going to get into family history here, but if you were judged, if people knew who you were and knew who your dad were, oh my God.
Who was.
Yeah, there we go, words are hard. That would be unfair to you.
Right.
Because that's not who you are.
Right.
If I were compared to my dad, if I had the pre-notion of me being my dad, that's unfair to me. And I'm not saying that my dad's a bad person. My dad has done a ton for me, and I would be great to be half the person that my dad is. But I'm not. That's not who I am. I'm not who my dad is. I am my own individual person. So I kind of feel like that's really messed up, that people want Lonzo to fail because of his dad.
They want him to fail despite his dad.
Yeah.
Which is not right.
This is not Lonzo Ball's fault.
No.
He has nothing to do with this.
Right.
He's not coaching. He's in the Summer League winning MVP right now.
Pretty much.
So I just wanted to bring that up real quick. But you're right. Yeah, he was up 69-60. At the end of the game, Lavar said he felt like they were being cheated. And this is going to bug me. If you feel like you're being cheated and you're winning,
I don't get that.
How? They're obviously doing it wrong.
Right.
If they're trying to cheat. This to me is like exactly what if the Atlanta Falcons, when they got a PI call on them in the fourth quarter, and then Dan Quinn was like, you know what, let's go. Come on, we're done. In the Super Bowl. Are you crazy? You have, exactly what you said, you have to keep playing.
Right.
I was always the person that, yes, if you get a bad call, you're going to be upset.
Right.
It's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, my dad always told me, hey, my dad comes up again, he said, you just need to keep going. Just because you don't like a call doesn't mean you just stop.
Right.
Because you need to keep going. Because you never know what's going to happen.
If anything, it should push you to be more competitive, because now you want to say, okay, you're going to do that. All right, fine, I'm going to come back at you even harder.
Yes.
You never want to just say, oh, that's it. I feel like I'm being cheated even though I'm up by 9 points. I'm going to walk off this court because I feel like that's right. Now, I get it. Don't get me wrong, refs have bad calls all the time. We're not saying the refs did anything perfect. I didn't think it was a foul either. And who knows what he said to the ref to get a tech. But nevertheless, though, keep playing, keep fighting, keep battling. You basically run a marathon in a sense. You get to mile 25, and then you're upset because someone passed you or whatever, or they told you, oh no, you need to go this way and whatever. Then you're like, well, then I quit.
Yeah.
You're going to quit on the last mile? You're going to quit at the last part of it? No, keep fighting, keep going, get through it. That's just my biggest thing about it, because you're teaching these young kids failure before they have a chance to succeed, which is disappointing, because this is why we had that video about adults ruining youth sports. Adults are getting in the youth's way.
This is that conversation to a T.
Yeah.
It literally is. And I'm going to bring up a short story here. Actually, yesterday, I was doing the dishes and I called my daughter in because I needed her to go get me something. And she comes in and she tells me something and I didn't hear her. So I go, what? And I asked my wife later, and I go, did I say it mean? She goes, no, you were just really quick at saying what because you were distracted. And I was like, oh, okay. And my daughter walks out. And so I could have let that go, but what I'm teaching my daughter is the next time I call her in, she could walk out at any time, and I'm okay with it because I didn't do anything.
Right.
So instead, I went to her and I said, hey, I need you to come here. And of course, she's throwing a fit and whatnot. And, we worked it out and finally, got her to do what we asked her to do. and I'm not going to go through the details because it's not that important. But the point of the story is, if I would have let it go, she would do that again.
Right.
Now, I went to it, and I went to her, and we figured out a solution, and we got it done. So, what is this teaching to the kids? And if you feel like, oh, well, they're older kids, your daughter's younger, you don't know how this is going to work, it's completely different. No, it's not. I've worked with kids from 6th grade all the way down to 1st grade. Kids will watch what you do, and whatever you do, they're going to remember it. I did it with my dad, I did it with my mom. Whatever they did, I was like, oh, okay, that's okay. I still do it sometimes. I see someone doing something, I'm like, oh, okay. And you just don't think about it. Those kids saw what he did. And so the next time they get attacked, they're just going to walk off the court. I mean, that's what it basically means.
He's supposed to be a role model to these young kids to learn how to battle together, but so one teammate doesn't like that, but one is going to do that. Then it's going to create tension, because now you got one person believing that they need to walk off the court if they don't agree with something, then you got another one that's going to want to stay. And you're not being unified as a team. And as an adult or a coach or somebody that is a role model and influencer, you got to teach them what's right. And don't teach them what was wrong about why you felt like your foul was wrong, but don't teach them to walk away and not just finish work. Get your work done, get your business done, and then you deal with it later. Or just move on from it, because you don't want something to hinder you from future success. And that's basically what he let happen. And, basically that whole Adidas tournament turned into a whole, crap fest, because basically the one team that was being notarized, the coach was a crybaby and took the whole team. And then they wonder why they lose and they weren't competitive.
Yeah.
Well, stick around. You might.
Exactly. I agree. So, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch our videos.